Hey, welcome to the 2025 State of the Coaching Industry. If you are watching the replay, type in chat, comment box, wherever you are, that you're catching the replay. And whether you're live, watching the replay, whatever, let me know how you're doing. Give me a word, give me a phrase. Give me a yay. I just got into my cheerleading right there. Give me a word. Give me a phrase. Right? Michelle, you're not responding to me. This isn't very helpful. Okay, better. If you guys could see Michelle, she's in the background doing some version of the YMCA. Is this the state of the coaching industry? Give me an S. Give me a T. Give me an A. Now give me jazz hands. All right. We'll see how many people immediately just left. No more of these shenanigans. All right, so we are going to try to get serious here a little bit. Once every year-ish, we try to do the state of the coaching industry. And it is my thoughts on the state of the coaching industry, if the title wasn't sufficiently indicative of what we're going to talk about. We're going to talk about 6 main things. We're going to talk about why most attempts at confidence actually increase cowardice and will no longer get you high quality clients, high ticket clients, solid coaching business, or anything else that you want in coaching. Now, before I go on any further, we're going to keep all the context here in the coaching industry for the most part, because that's who most of you are. And that's why most of you will show up to webinar called State of the Coaching Industry. But these are foundational concepts that apply to all kinds of things, leadership specifically. We're going to talk about what is currently working, what is no longer working, and how to sell and market coaching specifically in a post-COVID world. The next best steps for you to build a solid, lucrative coaching business. We are going to talk about the number one entrepreneurial question you got to ask yourself every single day if you want to succeed. The most important strategic shift you must make to sell transformation in today's attention economy, and how to win in coaching even if you're insecure, introverted, bald, bearded, sensitive, doubt-filled, or just any other form of imperfection as a human being. So we're going to tackle all of these things. If you guys have been on our webinars before, we try to teach to understanding and not just satisfaction. So we'll go on for a while, probably a couple hours here. And I'll talk about a program that we've got coming up called Client School. We'll talk about your individual next steps. We'll talk about learning. We'll talk about all kinds of stuff, right? But first things first, let me tell you a little bit about who I am, just so you know where all this information is coming from. I've been a full-time coach since 2006, which means if the business wasn't working, the family wasn't eating. And all of the things that I share always come from that place, like what I've learned that actually works for a full-time business. We've made multiple 6 figures, all but 1 year in 2008. I think we made like 150,000. So we didn't get multiple 6 figures that year. But every single year, we've made multiple 6 figures. I'm not saying that to try to impress any of you or flex or anything like that, but just like this stuff kind of works for the stuff that, or for everything that we have implemented over the years and learned over the years, right? So I just want you to understand where this is coming from. We made $8 million plus over the years. I've created a coaching methodology called neurotransformational coaching. That's where you can shift your neurology and help other people shift their neurology. We always say you can make sounds with your mouth and change the way somebody experiences life on this planet. How freaking cool is that? And I've created a bunch of stuff over the years, spoken on a couple TEDx stages, was going to speak on a third one, but COVID canceled it. I am the author of Daddy, Are You Proud of Me? I've published thousands of articles and audios and videos and over 1 million YouTube views on our videos, probably done 30 plus online courses. I did a one-man show. I'm an actor now in the last 2.5 years, been getting on a ton of sets, written a couple songs. So I just share all of that just to let you know where all of this is coming from. And that's my pretty headshot right there. That's actually a little bit of a skit that I do, explaining like all the layers and all the lenses that we walk around with. So it's become sort of one of my signature pieces if you're looking at the video there, and you can see that little picture on the screen. So first things first, let's talk about what we're going to talk about and how we're going to talk about this. So first of all, I believe that learning is becoming more and more shallow. I think it's decreasing significantly. And if you want to increase your embodiment, if you want to increase your leadership, you have to intentionally get out of the shallow learning and passive learning routes, right? You have to intentionally learn actively. And we live in a world today where most of us are multitasking our ways through the day, and you're never going to multitask mastery. The way that we behave nowadays, our patterns have changed, but the way that we learn has not changed. What's required for us to grow has not changed. The foundational elements of human evolution and human growth are still the same. It's just that we've created so many of these passive, shallow behavioral patterns and addictions that are not helping us. If you're like me and you want to, actually create embodied certainty and growth, and you want to evolve and see what you're made of, we got to get out of these patterns that most of us are in, myself included, and we have to engage more, right? So one of the distinctions I've been making lately is there's a difference between listening, studying, and training. And most people are just listening. They're just passively learning. It's just window shopping, podcasting their way through life. There's nothing wrong with podcasting. I'm just saying it's different. It's the least engaged way to learn. The next best way is studying, and that's where you actually engage a little bit more. But the only thing that's going to actually shift your embodiment is training. You have to train to go to the depths. You have to dig down into your roots. You have to expand your capacity. And that requires you to get out of these behavioral addictive patterns that most of us, again, I'm raising my hand to that, have fallen into. So take it as an invitation to engage. And what that means here on this platform is ask questions and make comments and add things to whatever it is that I'm saying. If you disagree with something that I'm saying, let me know. And, we will swiftly kick you out, but at least your comment will be around after you've been removed. I'm joking if you don't know my sense of humor. So engage. And everything that we're talking about here is really about transformational coaching. And there's a difference between transformational coaching and transactional coaching. Transactional coaching is just informational exchange, right? You want to learn something, I have information, and here it is. Transformational coaching is really about helping people change their neurology, change their relationships, change their self-esteem, truly transform. And these two types of coaching are both legitimate. They're just not the same. So transactional coaching techniques, strategies, marketing, sales will not work for transformational coaching because they're different animals for the most part, right? Some of the stuff does transfer if we're talking about foundations, but everything that I talk about is really in the transformational coaching realm. I think most of you want to be transformational coaches to some degree. So that's the filter that I want you to listen to all of this through, because it's the filter that I am teaching all of this through. And I don't like to sugarcoat stuff. So I'm not going to give you fantasies. I think a lot of people are selling fantasies because a lot of people hope their fantasies are real. And we just don't do that, right? We're not going to give you a bunch of hype. I want to give you a bunch of hope because there are actual ways for all of you to succeed. But you've got to live in the world of reality and not the world of fantasy. And nobody who is serious or has created anything of value, I think, will talk about or teach anything related to overnight success, get rich quick, one size fits all, any of that sort of stuff, right? I've never in 20 years of doing this seen that work once. I've not seen it work a single time. And yet, most people are buying some version of that, right? So we just always want to break down what really truly works and what really causes people to fail so you can learn from that and avoid that, or causes people to succeed so you can model that and dive into that, right? Another big thing that I think is really critical to understand, just kind of like an overall awareness, is when you're dealing with anything complex, there are no easy solutions. And complex doesn't necessarily mean hard and complicated. It means ever changing. That's the working definition that I'm using. And what I find is that so many people, understand that we are humans and we're constantly changing. Society is constantly changing. The platforms are constantly changing. But most people are seeking easy solutions that never change. And just conceptually, it doesn't make sense that you can find rules that never change and also apply to humans that never don't change. So you are a human, you're constantly changing, people are constantly changing, all the environmental elements are constantly changing. So I don't want you to seek rules that don't change. I want you to seek the ability to adapt and adjust when the rules change. Because your ability to adapt and adjust really requires your commitment to foundation. When the winds change, foundation can adapt. Fads cannot. Fads will die, but foundation can adapt. And in an ever-changing world, your ability in business to adapt and to adjust is everything. And I didn't say this, it was on the very first slide, but everything we're talking about today in this particular webinar is about business growth, right? There's two different pathways in the coaching world. There's strategies and then there's skill sets. I'll do a whole nother part of state of the coaching industry related to skill set. But this part one is just strategy. So everything that we're going to talk about is about growing your business and expanding and reaching the people that you want. So let's start with this North Star question. I'm finding myself using this as like a starting point for most of the trainings that we do because it's so critical. And it's also very elementary. Do you want to actually be good or do you just want to look good? And most people, I think, actually just want to look good and they want to get paid and they want to do the quick things. But that will never increase your capacity to be good. And if you want to be good, then you have to look at everything you do from that filter. Is this going to help me become better? Is this going to help me grow my individual muscles? Is this going to help me adapt and adjust? Or is it just going to give me some facade to put out there? And then hopefully somebody's going to come, and buy my programs, but I don't actually have to do any of the work, right? So you all are incredibly smart. If you want to get good, then you need to train in places that will get you good. And don't train in places or don't even participate in places that aren't actually increasing your capacity and your certainty, and yourself, right? Like your empowerment. So that's just, a filter that I think you need to look at everything through. And in today's world, in today's coaching world, there's no regulation in this coaching industry. So people can sell whatever they want to sell. And, with some hard line, like basic laws, like you can't, sell dangerous stuff and put people's lives at risk and things like that. But for the most part, when it comes to just information, there's no rules, there's no laws here, there's no police. And so people can just sell whatever the market will buy. And because of that, the majority of the coaching market is appealing to people's desires, but it's not preparing people for their dreams. And if you want to actually achieve your dreams, you need to prepare for it, which means you need to train like you're serious about getting your dreams rather than just, I hope this works because I don't want it to take a long time, or I want this thing to make up for all the past mistakes or whatever. So this is kind of like a big zoomed out, like setting point, right? Like, how are we gonna consume the rest of today and this webinar, but everything that you're gonna do when it comes to training. I want you to be thinking about all of these things. All right, so let's get into some of the content here. First of all, though, we just created a brand new assessment, and it's based on the framework that there are 4 stages of business growth. There is introductory information, there's immersion, implementation, there's isolated iteration, and then there's individual iteration. Those 4 stages are the 4 growth stages. And we've been teaching this work for a long time, but we just literally in the last few weeks put it together in these 4 stages and created an assessment so you can answer these questions. It takes just a couple minutes to answer these questions. And then the assessment will let you know what stage you're in, but more important than that, what's your next step to go to the next stage. And so you can go to bit.ly/4 stages of growth. You see the URL there on the screen, or there's QR code there. If you got your phone out, take a little picture and head straight there. Just to give you a quick visual, I'm not going to teach this stuff, but the majority of stage 1 the majority of the journey is stage 1 work. And you can see, if you're looking at the screen, that each of the other stages get smaller and smaller and smaller as you sort of rise up the mountain. And nearly everybody is in stage 1 and will never leave stage 1. But almost everybody is hoping for stage 4 results. So 90% of the coaches, or 99% of the coaches are in stage 1, yet almost all the strategies that are being taught out there require you to be in the higher stages. So it's like if you're in 2nd grade and all the curriculum out there is in 10th grade, it's not going to work, because you need to know where you are so you can get to your next step. So that's as deep as I want to go. Well, I want to go deeper, but that's as deep as I'm going to go right now. Go to bit.ly/4 stages of growth, or capture that QR code, and it'll take you right to the assessment. And we've been working hard on that. Sarah and Michelle have been putting in a lot of time, and so I hope it's valuable for you. And the people that have been taking it have been giving us some really good feedback on it. It's super helpful, and you need a starting place in order to know what your directions should be. So take the assessment. All right, number 1, the first bit of information here that I want to start with, because again, it's like this is how you have to set your sails, because this is an internal indicator. This is an internal commitment that I think you have to have. What most people are searching for is confidence. And I'm going to try to sell you the concept right now that confidence is a coward's target. And confidence is actually, the way most of us are looking for it, confidence is actually a fool's game. And I don't mean that any of you are fools. I'm not making that judgment. I'm not talking about like intelligence. I'm just saying that the way most of us are thinking about confidence and searching for confidence, it's actually not going to do what you want it to do. You can get confidence in another way, and I'm going to explain how, but it's as a result of doing a lot of work. So the reason I say that confidence is a coward's game is because the way that the intellect searches for confidence is the intellect tries to be convinced or convince itself that it won't fail. That's when we feel confident, right? I mean, let me know if you agree with me. Most people feel confident when they believe they'll succeed. When they believe that they'll be able to do whatever it is they want to do, then they feel confident. However, confidence is not a feeling. Confidence is an intellectual state. It's really more about a collection of ideas and judgments and opinions and head talk. But we think about it as though it's a feeling. And that's why people talk about feeling confident or not feeling confident. And when people don't feel confident, generally they feel stuck. And when people feel stuck, they generally don't take action, right? So the reason that this is so critical to understand is that if you stay in the world of trying to convince your intellect that you won't fail, what will happen is you will be playing in the world of fantasy, because you're going to be thinking ahead, you're going to be predicting, you're going to be going, let me think, if I do this, will I be able to succeed in the future, right? So you're in the realm of the future if you're trying to convince yourself that you won't fail out there. If you try to convince yourself that you're going to be able to create whatever it is you want to create, you're living in the world of the future, which is a fantasy world, right? So that's not actual reality. But what happens is we convince ourselves that in the fantasy future world, we're going to succeed. But even more than that, we're not going to fail. And those two things sound like the same thing, but they are way different. Most of us are deeply afraid of feeling the experience of failure again, like we have before in some area of our lives before, right? So we're afraid of what happens if we fail, and we just want to avoid those feelings as much as possible. So most people are actually trying to not fail more than they are trying to succeed. And the reason this is really critical in the context of everything that we're talking about now is that the majority of the coaching industry is going to teach you how to be confident, and it's going to convince you that it can take failure away from you. That if you just follow this system, you won't fail. If you just sell this way, you won't feel salesy, or people won't think that you're a salesperson, or you won't be pushy. If you just follow this step-by-step process, you're going to get those high-ticket clients fast, right? So what the majority of the market is trying to do, whether they say it or not, is convince you that if you buy their idea, concept, philosophy, program, they'll take failure away from you. Oh, it's so critical to understand. So when you see that, if you purchase the philosophy that I'm trying to sell you right now, if you purchase this philosophy, just conceptually, then anybody who tells you they can take failure away from you, you will ignore. Because you know that's not possible, nor is it effective for you. Removing failure from you just takes away your ability to grow. So not only is it not possible, it's not good. In the world of business, it's not good. And in the actual traditional business world, not just in the coaching world, in the business world, nobody who knows anything about business believes there are guarantees. That is not, it's like not even a thought that anybody who really, really understands business thinks that there is a guarantee that they can't fail. It's just, it doesn't work that way. But in the coaching world, there's a lot of people that are trying to convince us that they can remove failure. And there's these guaranteed ways to make business, which is not guaranteeable for you, right? And most of the time, they don't even know who you are, right? They just tell you, doesn't matter who you are, doesn't matter how long you've been doing this, doesn't matter how old you are, doesn't matter who you're selling to, doesn't matter. All those details don't matter. I'm going to give you the guaranteed way to succeed. So anything that looks like that, sounds like that, smells like that, turn around and run. But the problem is, we really want it to be true. That's why so many people in an unregulated industry are selling. So I want you to understand that your job is not to try to avoid failure. Your job is to be bigger than failure. Your job is to be unstoppable and not like intellectually unstoppable, like, yay, I feel unstoppable, like I'm just going to conquer the world. No, unstoppable in the literal sense that you don't stop. And most of your attempts in business are going to fail. Most of your attempts are not going to create what you hope they're going to create. So if the majority of our attempts are going to fail, then I suggest you heal your relationship to failure and get bigger than the failure. Because each and every one of you are bigger than your failures, as long as you drop the idea that success and not failing are guaranteeable, right? So most of us have the wrong target when we're trying to learn guaranteed success or guaranteed not fail strategies. And the reason that most of us don't want to fail is because we don't want to feel disappointment. We don't want to feel not good enough. We don't want to feel, whatever traumas we're holding on to. We don't want to feel insignificant. We don't want to feel these low energy connections that most of us have to quote unquote failure in the past. And that is something that each and every one of us can lean into directly and actually shift and actually, heal this. But what it requires is for you to stop searching for intellectual confidence based on future fantasy predictions and commit to embodied certainty. And embodied certainty is when you take the actions, especially when you don't know if it's going to work or not. And regardless of what it creates, whatever your action creates, you get up and you do it again. And I know that's so easy to say. I know people, are like, every failure gets you closer to success, or every no gets you closer to a yes, or, just feel the fears and do it anyway. Like, we have all these intellectual understandings, but most of us are still, even with all of that stuff, we're still trying to avoid failure. So embodied certainty, though, is the only way that you actually can get bigger than failure. And then you don't have to worry about failing because you're stronger than it. And what that builds is not future fantasy confidence. What it builds is certainty in your cells and capacity to be resilient. And I think the most important trait in business, I'm trying to filter this to make sure that I believe what I'm about to say. And I do. The most important internal business trait is resilience. It's not the ability to to succeed. It's not smarts. It's not there's all kinds of things that are important. I'm not saying those are not important, but in business, I'll bet on the resilient person all day long before I bet on the perfect person, before I bet on somebody that's not committed to constant growth. I'll bet on the resilient person all the time. Because resiliency means you just get back up after you fail. And I want you to really understand this. Resiliency means you get back up after you fail. So there's only one way to build resiliency: through failure. You cannot avoid failure and build resiliency at the same time. So again, if you are buying the concept that I'm offering you here, then we need to stop trying to avoid failure. Because not possible and not helpful. And it will never build you what you actually need to succeed. So if you believe all this stuff, then you'll realize that confidence is actually pointless. Like, whether you think you're going to succeed or not fail actually doesn't matter at all. What matters is you take action and you have embodied certainty to get back up and try again. So where I'm going with this in terms of your choices and what you need to do in the coaching industry is that when you hire coaches or you purchase programs or you study, people's YouTube channels or whatever it is that you're consuming, make sure you're consuming from sources that are helping you build certainty and resiliency. And I can't tell you adequately enough what it's like when you cross the line and are no longer afraid to fail. Because when you're no longer afraid to fail, nearly all fears go out the window. Because almost all of our fears are the scary thoughts that say, if I fail, something really bad is going to happen. That's what nearly all of our fears are, the intellectual fears that most of us are dealing with. So what happens if you could actually remove the fear of failure? Then nearly all of your sabotage goes away. And it is possible, but you got to have your eyes on the right target, right? So here's another piece that's really important. When you commit to not failing, you're actually doing the exact opposite of what I just said. When you're committed to not failing, what you're telling yourself is that you don't trust yourself with failure. You don't trust yourself with failure. That's why you're trying to do everything you can to avoid it. So it actually decreases our certainty. In the way that I'm explaining it, if you're really afraid of failing, every attempt you make to not fail from an emotional standpoint actually increases your fear of failure, because you're telling yourself you don't trust yourself with failure. And that's just a very, very difficult variable to succeed with, right? So in conclusion of this first topic here, I want you to commit to building your resilience muscles. And the faster you take action, the faster you're going to build your resilience muscles. And contrary to, I think, what a lot of us believe, you actually don't have to be confident that you're going to succeed in order to take an action. You don't have to. One of the biggest concepts that I've learned over the years, and one of the core elements of what we teach, is that in order to succeed in business, you have to take a lot of ignorant action. Ignorant means you don't know if it's going to work. You don't know if you could actually do this. You don't know if people will buy this. You don't know what the results are going to be. You don't know what the process is going to be, but you're going to act anyway. And one of the biggest acute representations of failure and experiences of failure in today's world is judgment and being attacked, and people telling you don't know what you're talking about, and this whole idea of imposter syndrome, right? But there's no such thing as invisible leadership, you guys. If you want to be influential, you have to be visible. That doesn't necessarily mean you need a camera on you where people's eyes can actually see your face. There are other ways to do it, but they can't not know you exist and follow you. And most people are afraid of being attacked. So in today's world, if you're afraid of being attacked, then the only way around that is to never get attention. Because in today's world, when you get attention, you will get attacked, especially if you're sharing anything real. So my message is, don't try to avoid getting attacked. Build your capacity so big that the attacks won't stop you. And then again, when you cross a line, you're no longer afraid of people attacking you. The liberation in that, and the permission you give yourself to try and to speak up and to be distinct and to be unique and all the things that you have to do in today's world, all the resistance to all that goes away. Maybe not all of it, but then you can actually become unstoppable. The reason that people are stoppable, primarily, I would say, is that they're afraid of the consequences of visibility. They're afraid of the consequences of people telling them that they're dumb, or family members saying they don't know, why you're sharing all your dirty laundry or whatever it is, right? So I want you to prove to yourself, and honor yourself, because really that's what this is. This is like self-honoring. Honor yourself to build your muscles big enough to where the trolls out there online cannot bring you down. And you are bigger than all of the trolls. But most people are not training for that. Most people are just trying to avoid getting the negative feedback and the emotional destruction that comes with that. So That's how I want you to think. Excuse me. And that's the target that I want you to focus on. Building your body to withstand attacks and to be so resilient that it doesn't matter when things don't work out. You trust yourself with yourself to get back up and try again. If we don't trust ourselves to get back up, then we cannot trust ourselves with failure. And that's why all the guaranteed success magnets appeal to us, because we actually don't trust ourselves with failure, because we don't trust that we're going to get back up if we fail. So that's how you can change all of this, and then just at a whole nother level of self-trust, self-permission, and what it really truly takes to be a leader in today's world. So I mentioned to you all, first of all, how are we doing? Wherever you are, if you are watching live or you're watching the replay, this could be a good moment to just sort of breathe for a moment, right? This is some heavy stuff, especially if this is the first time that you're hearing this, or you're just feeling it at a deeper level. This can be heavy, because we're talking about the most important relationship that you'll ever have, which is your relationship to yourself, and whether you are your biggest punisher or your biggest nurturer, your biggest cheerleader. And it's really difficult for us to go from the biggest punisher, which I think most of us are, because we're just programmed that way, and the way the human brain works. I'm not going to get into that now, but we have to get to the point where, at the very least, we might not be our biggest nurturer because we have other people that love us and will always cheerlead for us, but at the very least, we got to stop punishing ourselves. We have to stop being the thing that we're most afraid of. And most of us are most afraid of ourselves, which means everywhere you go, your biggest fear goes with you, because your biggest fear is inside you, right? So it can be breathtaking, like literally breathtaking, but it's also liberating, and it's doable for everybody if you're willing to do this work, and you want to build your capacity, build your muscles for resiliency, rather than the intellectual fantasy, right? So I told you that I've been acting for a while, and I had a movie that it was, and probably still to this day, was like the best movie that I've ever acted in. It was a student film, and it was screened with a big old audience, and I think most people there really liked the film and liked my performance. I was the main character, and I was in every scene. And during the intermission, I left. We had to go somewhere early, but the head teacher pulled me aside and just said, hey, I want to talk to you for a minute. And he said, the movie was really good, and your performance was really good. He said, where are you training? And I felt myself get a little irritated by the question, not because I didn't like the question, or I didn't trust this guy, or I didn't respect this guy, but I didn't like my answer, because my answer was, I'm not. And I started to tell him, well, I took an acting class like a year and a half ago, and he just stopped me cold. And he goes, listen, you have a lot of potential, but if you're going to go past this current ceiling that you're at, you have to be training. You have to respect this craft. And he didn't use these words necessarily, but I took it like, it is kind of disrespecting my craft to just go, well, I took a class one time, and therefore I should just keep getting better and better and better, and people should keep casting, me, and then I should make all this money, when I'm not even training in the craft, right? And he just spent a couple minutes with me and just dove into my soul, basically, and told me that if I train, I can get bigger and bigger and bigger. But if I don't, I won't. And it was just that simple. And it affected me for a long, 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 long time. And I eventually had lunch with him many months later, and I said, you told me something that kind of slayed me, and I need some more questions answered. And it was a really cool conversation. And what he said, actually, I forgot this part. What he said was, your performance was good, but you don't pop. This was the first conversation. He's like, if you want to pop, then you have to train. So number one, he, with his perspective, saw that I wasn't popping. And so when I met with him months later, I go, you told me that I didn't pop. Like, what does that mean? And he said, when you've been around long, as long as I have, there's just a difference. And it's not anything that you can tangibly measure and even explain to people, but you could just tell. Like, people that are in the industry can tell if somebody is acting or they are being, and they just happen to be acting. And so it's really powerful that he used some of the same words that we use, right? In this industry. Like, are you being or are you doing? Are you being or are you just pretending? And he said, you'll never get booked when casting directors can tell that all you're doing is just acting. But he said, you'll never not get booked when casting directors can tell that you're being. And the reason I tell you that story is not because, I want you all to start acting, or I think it only applies there. It actually applies over here as much, because every single one of your prospects are essentially like a casting director. Everybody that watches a video, everybody that consumes an article, everybody that listens to a podcast, everybody that is watching you and listening to something that they might want to purchase from you is essentially going, should I cast this person in the role that I need of helping me change my life? And so they are paying attention. And most of them don't have a clipboard with a checklist. Like, are they being? Do they have embodied certainty? Do they have their own coach? Like, they don't have a checklist with all that stuff. But energetically, they just know, should I follow them or not? And energetically, if I'm being honest and judgmental, energetically, most people are not followable at a deep, deep level, because most people are not embodied at a deeper level, right? So if you want to stand out, then become a leader, become that lighthouse, become the embodied teacher. And then your magnet will attract the people that need you. But you have to go first. You have to, like, do some work and practice and get good and get better and iterate and learn some lessons. And then every single one of you has incredible success waiting for you, but not without you doing what's required to get that success. And especially not in today's world, right? So mastery is much more vertical than horizontal. And most people are just learning horizontally. But people who are committed to mastery are training vertically. And that means you have to be currently training. Going back to the question that Bruce asked me, where are you training? Currently, active verb. Where are you training? So since that conversation, I have started training more, and I can tell, like, I can even feel it in my bones. My acting is different because I just, I'm growing. So most coaches are not training, and because of that, they're not leaders. All right, that's enough on number one. At least that's as long as I want to spend on it. We can stay there for 5 hours, but we're not. The second topic I want to talk to you about is what is currently working, what is no longer working, and how do you sell and market in a post-COVID world? Now, this is at least a 2-day topic. So I'm going to share quite a few things with you. I'm not going to dive deep into hardly any of them, because it would actually be doing you a disservice if we just, just fed you all this stuff into one giant buffet. But I just want you to know there are a lot of considerations here. And that's just the reality, right? If you want to go into the ocean, you have to know there are waves out there. And if anybody tells you that they figured out a way to make the waves stop in the ocean, yeah, you're going to drown before you succeed out there, because there are waves, right? So there are waves in business, there are waves in your human journey, and I want you to be prepared for those waves. So I'm going to go backwards here. Actually, I'm going to go in reverse order. I'm going to talk about post-COVID first. In the post-COVID world, I think what we have to understand is that the menu options are so much more than they used to be. And it's not just that the number of coaches are infinitely more, although that's true, or the coaching programs are infinitely more, although that's true, or the products out there are infinitely more, although that's true, or the marketing is infinitely more, that's true. Like everything is actually, much, much more. It's increased in just the volume of stuff that's out there. But it's not just that. It's that because of all that, we as individual humans have started to shrink a little bit. And because we've just got nonstop like marketing coming at us, and the reason I put this in post-COVID terms is because during COVID, like the whole world went online. And that means all the competition went online. And the competition became fierce. And so that's where we are now. We're coming out of this post-COVID, battle royale of all the marketers. And it's not just what's available in the coaching industry either. It's just what's available for people to spend their time, right? So if somebody feels some kind of emotional trigger that comes up, they can go to your coaching program if that's something you want to help people with. They can go to somebody else's coaching program, or they can go to therapy, or they can go to counseling or something like that, or they can go to their smartphone, or they can go to Netflix, or they can go to YouTube and watch cat videos, right? So it's not even just within the coaching market that you have to be aware of. It's just what else could people do with their time? What other options of choices do people have when they bump up against whatever it is that you want to help them with? And because of all of this scattering and fragmenting of human behavior and the increase of choices and all that sort of stuff, people during COVID, I think, have become numberized, right? People have been flattened into numbers and also numbed, like numberized. People have become more and more numb, I think, to their feelings and just all the addictions that are out there, especially social media patterns and behaviors and all that stuff. So people aren't like there as much, people are not present as much. But from a marketing standpoint, people have been flattened into numbers a lot, right? So many people are focused on automation, and you don't have to spend a whole lot of time with people. You can just get people to buy a bunch of your programs and all this stuff. And I think people can feel that. I mean, do you agree with that? Do you feel like you have become numberized a little bit more? Like you are just numbers to people more than you used to be, because there's so much automation and there's so much copy and paste, direct messaging out there. And there's so much like, just buy this platform and just plug this in, and, and you'll just be spit out of the assembly line, right? I think most people would agree that as a consumer, they feel a little bit more like numbers. And so the way that you can combat that is make people feel important again as best you can. Make them feel important. And I think the best way to make people feel important is just be present with them, right? Talk to them, find out what they want, actually listen, respond to emails, respond to comments, like just be a person in communication, because that's actually what's missing, or one of the main things that's missing in this COVID machine that we've all been through over the last few years on the entire planet, right? And so if you just focus on and commit to being curious about people, actually caring about people, don't try to automate people, Now, that doesn't mean that automation by itself is a bad thing. I'm not saying that automation and scaling is a bad thing. I'm just saying that the overall effect of so much focus being on that is that people don't feel like they're listened to. So a lot of times in our business, people are blown away when they actually get a response, or they call up or show up on the Zoom and there's another person on the other end of the line. Like, a lot of people are like, oh my God, there's a real person here. I wasn't even expecting that. Like, sometimes they're actually shocked. So if you keep that like as the forefront of your commitment, then you will at least be fueled by this desire to connect. And I think that is that concept is a really important thing to understand, that the outcome of a lot of this, COVID experience is disconnection. So if we can create and forge connection again, now you can get people into a different room of the house, so to speak, right? Into a different kind of energy, and they'll feel it. And when people feel important, they pay attention, and they open emails, and they watch videos, and they read articles when they feel more important. And the more that they actually are important, like, I remember somebody asked me, I don't know how many years ago, somebody in the coaching world was like, what could I say to make people think I care about them, or something like that. And it wasn't like, I know they didn't put it in those exact terms, because I think they were asking a genuine question, right? And I just said, actually care. I mean, if you actually care, then what you do will generally be felt, right? So actually care and lead with that. Lead with caring, lead with connecting. So there's so many other like specifics, and I'm going to get into some of those here in a moment. But I think that's the biggest energetic shift that we have to adapt to in the COVID world. I mean, the other thing that's happened in COVID is that we've become so fragmented into our tribes. And that's a function of the algorithms and the way the algorithms work. And it's actually done a number on us. And it's not just in divisive conversations, justice conversations or political conversations or things like that. It's pulling us into the extremes of ourselves, in our emotions, in our thinking. Like, it's stretching us into our extremes, and that's not healthy. And it doesn't create connection. It actually creates more disconnect. So speaking of that, this next piece here, I just want to talk about just a moment or two about the technical shifts in this post-COVID world, and what you have to be aware of, right? I think most of you understand, to some degree at least, algorithms, but I think a lot of people don't really understand that the algorithms are only iterating based on people's behavior, right? The algorithms just nonstop iterating. The algorithms are not taking anything personal. They're not feeling any kind of emotional destruction. It's just what will get people to click, what will get this person to watch, right? So because the algorithms on social media and online marketing, just the online world, are so strong today, we have to understand how they're operating. We need to understand how the where the wind is blowing, so we can set our sails appropriately, right? And one of the biggest things to understand is that the algorithms are not designed to make people feel good. They're not designed to change people's lives. They're only designed to make money. They're only designed to get people's attention. They're only designed to get people addicted to the platform, right? They're designed to increase the intention of the algorithms, which is to get people's attention so that they can sell the attention, right? The algorithms are not designed to make the world a peaceful, loving place and to reconnect people with their families or themselves or increase self-esteem. It's not what they're designed to do. So you cannot base your success on the algorithms. Otherwise, you're going to lose. You have to be aware of the algorithms, and you can certainly, and you have to play the rules of the game when you're on certain platforms, but you can't put all of your eggs in that basket. Meaning, if you want to be a transformational coach, you should not follow influencer algorithm strategies. The algorithms are designed in this context to get influencers millions and millions and millions of followers so that they can put ads on their channel, so they can make money off the ads. And that strategy is fine. It's a legitimate strategy. It's just not what any of you want, I don't think. Otherwise, I don't know why you'd be listening to me, because we don't teach that. So the algorithms have a way to build that sort of, influencer economy. But if you want to change people's lives, that's not the way to do it. So you have to use the algorithms in a different way that's going to pull people into your space and get them into the conversations where, you can actually change their world. So you have to be able to pierce people's defense mechanisms, because that's how a lot of us are. I think all of us are showing up to some degree with a defense mechanism, like a shield to defend ourselves against all the marketing attacks or, against the sensationalism. People are showing up shielded. So you have to learn how to pierce that. And I'm going to get into some of the strategies here in a moment. And then you can get them in a different place and then not be subject to trying to follow this, influencer strategy, right? And again, this is if you want to transform people's lives. If you just want to sell them a bunch of attention and make money off the ads, great. I'm not your guy. But if you really want to help people, you can. You just need to know how to pull them out of the algorithmic current that they're in and intentionally get them into places where you can serve them and you can support them, right? All right, so I have a lot of stuff that I want to talk about, quite a few more things here in what's currently working and what's no longer working. But I'm going to take a break here and tell you about Client School. Everything I'm talking about, we put into our programs, because if there's something that you need to succeed, and we believe that it's what you need to succeed, then we create programs that are designed to help people succeed. They're not just designed to get the most amount of money out of folks. So we have a program right now. It's called Client School. I'm just going to spend a few minutes here talking about it, and then I'm going to go back into the rest of the content. Client School is, as it's titled, it's designed to help you get clients, because ultimately that's the only thing that's going to make your business grow and successful, right? You have to figure out a way to get clients. And so we've broken down so many of the elements and the variables and the strategies and all the pillars and all the foundational stuff that can make a coaching business able to withstand the changing of the winds, able to adapt, able to adjust. But you have to understand foundational laws, right? Not fad-driven rules, but foundational laws. And it's the embodiment work that I was talking about. When you do that, you can actually build a very solid coaching business, understanding how to create connection, understanding who you are, understanding distinction, understanding sales, marketing, teaching, all of those things. But it's from a solid place. It's not from an unstable, I hope this works, as long as the winds don't change kind of place that most fads are teaching out there, right? So there are three main elements to Client School that you can see on the screen here if you're looking at the video. There is an entrepreneurial identity component, there's a creativity component, and there's a strategy component. So the entrepreneurial identity is you, the creativity is your content, basically what you put out there, and then the strategy is how those two things come together and create a business. So you have to overlap those three main components, and that's how you become unstoppable. Again, if you're looking at the screen, where those three circles overlap, that's where massive success lives. And without the overlap of those three things, success is going to be elusive, and if it comes, it'll be short term. So we teach in Client School just the foundational principles that will give you the embodied certainty that I've been talking about. That'll teach you how to constantly create content. That'll teach you the science and the artistry of influence, authentic influence, not sleazy manipulation, but authentic influence and persuasion. And when all that happens, you can make money, right? We're also not trying to duck away from the idea that a business requires money. So we want to help you design a unique, aligned business. That's a word that we use a lot. Aligned. It's got to be aligned to you. It's got to be aligned to your seeker. It's got to be aligned to your desires, to your values. Everything needs to be aligned. Otherwise, it's not going to work. And if it does work, it'll be so short-lived that it'll come crashing down, right? And when that happens, then you're able to overcome a lot of the resistance. You're able to change your relationship to failure, to feedback, to rejection, to people saying no, to people not opening your emails. All of that stuff, you can change your relationship to all of that. You can't change the existence of all of that, but you can change your relationship to all of that and become unstoppable even in the presence of all of that. And that right there is one of the main reasons most people won't make it, is because they're trying to stop all of those things from happening. They're trying to stop failure. They're trying to stop rejection. They're trying to stop people's judgment. They're trying to stop all this stuff. In reality, you got to be bigger than all this stuff. And then you don't have to worry about trying to stop it. You just keep on going, right? And that's really the only way that you can grow from an authentic, aligned place. And one of the things that we hear a lot in this industry is imposter syndrome. And the way that people hold on to that, and the way that people think about it, and the way that people try to get over it is, I mean, it's almost, I don't want to say pointless because I don't want to sound like I'm being negative, but again, you got to have the target in the right place, right? And if the target's not in the right place, then you're not going to be able to overcome some of the things that people really, really struggle with. So Client School is closing actually on February 28th. Now, if I check my watch, it is February 27th right now. So as of the time that we are recording this, the doors are closing tomorrow at the end of the month. And so jump in, get in. And there's a money back guarantee so that, you don't have to worry about risking, a decision. If it ends up being not what you want, and if it sounds like, if we're not delivering what we're telling you that we're going to deliver, just let us know. We'll refund your money. That's not how we don't operate just trying to pull money out of wallets and keep it, and turn around and run. So some of the more tangible things that we're going to teach you is how to create a consistent online classroom, how to put up opt-in pages so you can pull people into your email address or email community, what needs to go on those opt-in pages to increase the effectiveness of them, how to nurture an email list, how to have a sales mechanism so people can actually say yes to you and pay you money and buy your programs or hire you as a coach or whatever, how to get ultimate clarity on who your seeker is. We actually just did a module in Client School, and we just went deeper than we've ever gone. We got a lot of really good feedback on who their seeker is. And people are telling us like right away, like, oh my God, I'm seeing things from different angles that I hadn't seen before. I'm feeling things that I haven't felt before. Now I feel like I'm actually ready to go, right? And so who your seeker is so incredibly important that without seeker clarity, almost everything that you try is not going to work because you don't know who you're talking to. You have to know who you're talking to, and they have to know that you know who you're talking to, especially in today's world. Otherwise, you're just not going to create resonance. You're not going to create rapport. You're not going to create trust, all the things that are even more important now than they've ever been. We're also going to teach you how to create a content skeleton so that you can just constantly, pull from a vault of content and create according to whatever the opportunity is, right? If you have 3 minutes to teach something, you can pull from the content skeleton and create 3 minutes of something. Or if you have 3 days to put together a workshop, you can do the same thing, pull from the content skeleton. We're going to talk about how to create offers, like free things to get people's email address, how to choose the right CRM, how to write emails that actually convert people from one step to another step, how to understand what their customer journey is and give them an intentional process that makes sense to them, right? What's step number 1? And after that, what's step number 2? And after that, what's step number 3? You can't just throw a bunch of stuff out at people, not in today's world, because they won't keep coming, right? They won't keep following those steps if there's not a clear path. We're going to talk about consultation templates, how to do sales consultations, which is the best way for most people to sell coaching is to do consultation. So we have a guide that will teach you how to sell online if you're going to put a sales page together, how to create 13 different types of conversion content. I really want to teach all this stuff right now to you, but we just simply don't have time. This is a 6-month program, you guys. So, I mean, this stuff is a lot. It'd be doing you a disservice to try to, give you the flattened, flat cake version of all this stuff. And then we're going to talk about how to track, how to measure, how to optimize, how to maximize and all that stuff. So these are the main things that we're teaching inside of Client School. Kevin took the first version of this a couple of years ago, and he said he watched half of Module 9, put it in motion, and screwed it up and earned $15,000 that day. Now, I'm not going to promise you that you're going to earn $15,000, but who knows what's possible, right? You might actually do a lot more than that. Leslie was a new coach. She didn't have a coaching program. She didn't have an online course or anything like that. And she said after a while, the last few months of eSchool, it was called eSchool back then, she earned over $10,000 by putting the strategies in motion with a pre-launch of her very first program. So again, I'm not going to promise you that you're going to hit either one of those numbers, but I'm also not going to promise you that that's your ceiling. I mean, who knows? It could be a lot more than that. But what we want to teach you in Client School are strategies that will carry with you, right? These are rest of your life strategies. They're not just 6-month strategies. This is a 6-month program in the container that we're going to teach it in, but these are rest of your life strategies. So when you learn, it's like that old adage, right? You want to have a fish, or do you want to learn how to fish? If you know how to fish, then like you can make the adjustments on the fly and you can make choices because you know how to think and you know how to make decisions, right? But if all we do is just give you a set of rules, and then as soon as the algorithms change or as soon as something shifts on somebody else's platform or something like that, then the rules are no longer relevant. And so we want to teach you forever strategies. We want to teach you foundational ways. We want to teach you how to think. We don't want to tell you what to think or what to do. We want to teach you how to think so that you can decide what to do 4 years from now. And so the investment in Client School is $15.97 if you pay in full, or 10 monthly payments of $199 a month. We want to make it accessible to as many people as we possibly can. And like I said, the doors close on the 28th, and we have several bonuses here. We got a transformational storytelling and speaker training. Oh, I know what I was going to say. A $1,600 investment, basically, for the rest of your life. So what I want you to think about is, like, what would happen if you were able to put together a system that started generating a client, once a month or once every 2 months. Like, I want you to think long-term with this stuff. Long-term, what could happen if you learn the business muscles in the coaching world, and then what can you create over the course of, the rest of your life, really, in this program. So one of the bonuses is transformational storytelling and speaker training. You'll get that right away if you register, when you register. Another one is weight loss for normal people. That was another online program where we really got into the emotional connection that most people have with food. Another bonus is the inner game of money, how to create healthy relationships and beliefs and habits with your finances. And then finally, I've got a book called Daddy, Are You Proud of Me? I'm currently in the middle of creating the audiobook recordings. I don't have them done yet, but when that's completed, you'll be able to get those also. If Client School is something that you're not sure if it fits or not, then you can book a consultation. You can go to coachshansmith.com/consult, or you can scan that QR code right there. We said that doors close on the 28th. If you book a call and you're not going to be able to get on the calendar until sometime after the 28th, if you book the call, then we'll still hold the doors open for you, because not everybody's going to be able to necessarily get on the line right away if you have questions. So if you need a consultation, you can do that. But if it's for you, then jump in. All right, so I'm going to go backwards. Let me pause for a second and take a drink of water here. Michelle, is there anything in the comment section that I need to address, or need to fix my hair or something? No, we're good. Okay, I'm gonna take that to mean we are good. So I'm gonna go back to what I was saying earlier with what's working and what's not working. I wanted this to have some presence to it. I didn't want to just rush through this because this is a lot of what people ask. It's what should I do? So what's working and what's no longer working? I'm going to do the what's no longer working first. And I had this thought today as I was thinking about this webinar. What's no longer working is actually more dangerous than what never worked. Here's why. Because if it never worked, nobody's teaching it, or at least not teaching it all that much. But it's more dangerous to be trapped by something that used to work, but is no longer working. Because way too many people will put their eggs in the basket of all the strategies that used to work when the world was different. And so it's harder to recognize things that once upon a time worked or things that work for other people, but they don't work for you. It's much easier to recognize that didn't work, will never work, and so you can just shift. But it's harder to make the distinction between the things that are no longer working, but once upon a time did. Because a lot of people are saying, like, telling stories that when I did this, I made all this money and so forth, but that was pre-COVID, or that was, pre-algorithm change, right? So what's no longer working is a little bit of a distinct sort of filter that I want you to hear these from, like to consume what I'm about to tell you from. And actually, there's one more thing I wanted to tell you before, so I don't want to miss this part. I want to talk a little bit about the psychology of what I think is the effect of the last 5 years, right? The COVID phenomenon, whatever that was. I think people are more confused than ever, and people are more traumatized than ever. And the confusion is from what I said before. There's so many items on the menu. But the trauma is from the experience that we've had. The sensationalized fracturing of our society, the tribalism, the people just feeling like, all I am is a number. Like, there's been trauma to a lot of people. And when a human being is confused and traumatized, that's a really difficult combination. So for any of you that feel, wherever you are on that scale, confused and traumatized, if any of you feel that way, just notice that I think most people are more confused and traumatized than we were a few years ago. And I think it's going in the wrong direction. Now, the reason, in the context of this webinar, the reason that's so critical to understand is because of the confusion and traumatization, people don't trust anywhere near like they used to. And once upon a time in the coaching world, when I started in probably the first, 8-10 years of my business, people were neutral to coaching. People were neutral to online programs. People were neutral because it was a relatively new experience for them. But now people are not neutral, people are negative. Meaning most people have bought something and then regretted the purchase. Most people who are actively looking for coaches have probably hired a coach or paid for a program or something like that and didn't like what they got, right? So now what's different is that people are coming into our spaces with negative experiences already. And that wasn't the case 10, 15 years ago. There wasn't negative experiences. There was neutral experiences or neutral states because there was no experiences before. But now most people have had negative experiences. And if you show up thinking that somebody's neutral when they're actually negative, and you try to lead them from a place of neutral, but they are negative, they're not coming, because you have to get them out of the negativity first in order to get back into a place of trust. They can't trust you if they're in this negative space. And I'm saying negative space like negative experiences from the past. So you have to give them a reason to trust again. And you have to understand that they don't trust the online world. They don't trust putting their credit card in. They don't trust giving their email address away. They don't trust themselves. They don't trust their family. They don't trust technology. There's so many things that people don't trust anymore that are way worse than they used to be. And if you don't understand that, then you won't intentionally get their trust. And if you don't intentionally get their trust, you'll never get their business. Not in the world of coaching, because they have to trust you in order to follow you, right? So all the strategies that people are looking for, the right answers, the how to price, how to sell, how to market, what platform, none of it matters if they don't trust you. So that needs to be your central focus when you start creating relationships, is you have to intentionally earn their trust. And just because you're trustworthy doesn't mean that they will trust you. You can be trustworthy, but you haven't given them a reason to trust you because they don't know you. So don't feel entitled that people should trust you just because you're trustworthy. You have to earn their trust. And I would rather you make it your goal to earn somebody's trust that you don't need to, rather than to operate like you don't need to when you do need to. So trust is so much more of a critical component than ever before. It's harder to get trust than it ever has been, but it's easier now to get trust than it ever will be, right? Because we're going in that direction. That's at least what I've seen. And what we've seen in our business is there's, a lot less engagement. There's a lot less responsiveness. And a lot of that has to do with trust, on top of all the other things I've talked about, right? All the other addictive patterns and all the other, explosion of things to do with people's time. So you have to earn trust. Now, the easy way I say easy, it's not easy because most people don't, most people might not feel like it's easy to be transparent, but it is simple. The best way to earn trust is to be truthful, transparent, and consistent. That's the formula for trust. Be truthful, transparent, and consistent. And if you do that long enough and you have something that people are interested in, you'll earn their trust eventually. I don't know when, each person's going to be different, but if you're not consistent, it's going to be very difficult to earn anybody's trust, right? Okay, so with all that in mind, let's get back to what's no longer working. And I'm going to give you, relatively long list without deep diving on many of these things, just because of the time that we have. So what's no longer working is anything that's oversaturated, any fad that people have been doing for a long time, and the market, the consumers out there are just tired of it. There's a thing called marketing fatigue that's really important to understand. After a certain point, we become fatigued toward the things that we see all the time. And then people's live videos are no longer enticing to us, right? I mean, do you remember when live videos were so fascinating? Like 10 years ago, when people were like, whoa, you're live? I could see you, and you could see what I'm typing, right? Like that was a thing that we weren't used to as human beings, is live videos over the internet. And now it's like, oh geez, who's live again? Will you just get out of my living room, right? So many of us take it as like an encroachment, right? Like it's an invasion, like get out of here. Whereas once upon a time it was novel. So anything that people are tired of are not working all that well anymore. Live videos, I mean, we do live videos. This is a live video, but we generally do live videos for the playback. We do live videos for the replays because a lot more people watch videos on replay so they can speed it all up, one of the reasons, than to watch them live. So don't get frustrated if people aren't showing up to your live videos a lot. I mean, that's just the way it is. On our YouTube channel, we have 32,000 subscribers. Currently, right now, we have less than 20 people watching live. I'm not going to do the math right now because I don't want to burst into tears of how low of a percentage that is. But it's across the board. I'm not saying that everybody has the same percentage as we do, but this video will be watched on replay many, 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 many more times than it's getting watched live. So still do live videos, but just do them for the replays and understand why you're doing it and understand how you can still use that content, right? Another thing that I don't think is working as well is webinar funnels, especially if it's done the same way as it's always been done, or anything that requires a lot of touch points, right? Like people need to show up for 5 straight days because you're doing like a 5-day challenge or something, or people need to watch 7 videos in order to, get to the end of the conversation. Anything that requires multiple touch points, the engagement is less and less and less and less. 20 years ago, the 4-part video sales thing was a phenomenon, and everybody was watching like the next video and the next video. It's just not that way anymore. So anything, again, that's oversaturated, it has created a lot of fatigue. Anything that sounds easy, anything that's copy and paste, anything that's easier for you to do is easier for them to ignore. Live by that. Anything that's easier for you to do is easier for them to ignore. Because anything that's easier for you to do is probably automated, and it's probably based on numbers, and it's probably more, it's easier for you to do. So it's designed for ease. And anything that's designed for ease of the person, of the company, it's going to be easy for people to not open the email or just not watch the video or whatever. From a content standpoint, I think I hope people are tired of hearing secrets. People are like here are the secrets to business. I think people are tired of one size fits all. I think they're just tired of shallowness, I think, especially in the transformational coaching world. So use that to your advantage, like really go deep with your content and get out of what they've been, seeing for forever. Anything that is like done for you, anything that says, I have the recipe, all you have to do is plug yourself into the recipe and it'll work because it works for everybody all the time. I don't want to swear on this webinar, so I'm not going to, but all of that is horseshit. Horse is not a swear word, right? Okay. If the recipe existed before you showed up, it's not your recipe. It's just that simple. Automation can be an accelerator, yes, but you're never going to build foundation through automation. You're never going to build foundation through some kind of assembly line. You're not a commodity that can just be interchanged, that can just be traded in and out. If you are a commodity, then you're not valuable. So even if it did work, it can't work very long, and it can't provide any meaning for you because it's just a plug and play operation. But a lot of people are intrigued by plug and play because it sounds easy, right? And that actually leads to this next point. Anything that gets you excited to avoid your emotional fears is probably not going to work. The reason that you get excited, like, oh, I've been having this like, I don't even know how to explain it, how to articulate it. And again, I'm trying not to swear. But I hate with a passion, with every cell in my body, the very concept of turning every no into a yes. And I see so many programs and videos and content that is like, I'm going to teach you how to turn all the no's into yeses. The reason that works is because it gets people desperately excited. It gets people excited to avoid the thing that they're afraid of, which is hearing the word no. If you recognize that you are emotionally drawn to something because it'll help you avoid a thing that you're afraid of, it's probably horseshit. Probably. I'm not going to paint everything out there with the same brush, but it probably is, which is why it works. Because We want to avoid the things that we're afraid of. So when somebody says, you can, like, I'm going to teach you a way to not care about what humans think about you. Horseshit. How can you not care about what people think about you? You can care about something more than what other people think about you, but the only way to not care about what people think about you is to become a psychopath, like literally. So that should not be something that we're drawn to. Or how to overcome every single objection, how to sell without selling, right? Like those things are not possible, but they're exciting because it's causing us to try to avoid something that we're afraid of. So anything that excites you emotionally about the process, like finally I found the secret, it's probably snake oil, which is why it creates that excitement. What I want you to be excited about is the outcome that you can create. I want you to be excited about the view from the top of the hill. Not that somebody just sold you a ski lift ticket and you no longer have to climb. Don't get excited about the process being easy. Get excited about the work being done and what that will feel like. That's what you should be committed to. And then do whatever the process is that's required to get you there. So I'm not saying that you shouldn't be excited or you shouldn't be drawn or you shouldn't be inspired, but we just got to make sure that we're excited, drawn to, and inspired to the right things and not, the fake shortcut around the process, right? And then finally, what's not working is anything that doesn't work on you. Like you are a really good model to pay attention to. If it doesn't work for you, it probably won't work for the person that you want to help because they're going to be really similar to you. So pay attention to the emails that you don't open. Pay attention to the videos that you don't pay attention to, that you ignore. Pay attention to the programs that you don't buy. Pay attention to the titles, to the prices. Pay attention to your own buying patterns and your own consumption patterns. And that's significant information because the people that are attracted to you are probably going to be similar to you in all of those ways, right? So now let's get into what is working. What is working is creating binge-worthy content. Having a YouTube channel, having a podcast, having a blog, getting content out there that is binge-worthy. That means they consume something and they can consume another thing, and then they can consume another thing, and then they can consume another thing. So part of binge-worthy content is a lot of content, but also it's intriguing content. They want to watch the whole video. They want to consume the whole article, listen to the whole podcast, and then they want more of where that came from. That's binge-worthy content. So one of the things that we are pacing all of our students in Client School toward is the building of a binge-worthy channel of content. Because if you get somebody's attention and you have more content behind it, it's going to be so much easier for them to trust you, for them to experience you, for them to keep going. And then now you're in a leadership position, right? But you obviously have to understand what they want. You have to understand their perspective. You have to learn a bunch of stuff. You have to create a bunch of things. But binge-worthy channel is one of the main targets that I think all of you need to set for yourself. And part of that is finding your own alignment, finding your own values, finding what works for you, and teaching what makes you come alive, and teaching what excites other people, right? So, like a lot of people understand this, but they're not doing it, right? So this is a good like self-reflection moment. If you want to be somebody that can, transform people's lives, a good check-in for you is how binge-worthy is your content? If they show up to your channel, to your blog, to your podcast, how many pieces of content can they consume? And if the answer is not a lot, that's fine. I'm not saying that to try to shame you, but try to inspire you. Okay, that's the target then. Let's go. Let's make a binge-worthy channel. I remember, I think it was 2016, that I had this realization for myself. that I wanted a binge-worthy channel. And it was around that time that I hired YouTube coaches, and I created intentional goals within the company, and we started publishing, and we started to get a lot more consistent. And now a lot of people will say, I've been binging your videos for 2 days. And when they say that, if I'm in the space to remember the moment of 2016 when I made that goal, I smile or I chuckle or I cry. But I have a little bit of an emotional response. Like, yeah, you binged those videos because I made a promise to myself way back then that when you came to me, I would have a binge-worthy channel. So once upon a time, we didn't have hundreds of videos on YouTube. Once upon a time, I didn't have any videos on YouTube or anything out there. So no matter where you are is fine, but let's get in motion and create binge-worthy content, because that's what people are expecting. That's what they are consuming. And that leads to opt-in pages and building an audience and email marketing. Those are things that are still working. Opt-in pages, building a community, and email marketing. You've got to get people on your own territory so that you actually can control the communication. You don't control the communication on social media platforms. Somebody else does. But you can control the communication on your turf, right? In your playground. Another thing that's working, this might sound cheesy, but it's true. Just help people. Teach your ass off. Coach your face off. Just help. Help, and then help, and then help some more. Now, don't only help without ways for them to pay you, because then, you're just going to have a hobby. But I want you to source the things that you're doing from the desire to help people. Because if you really do come from that place, they'll feel it and they will buy from you. They will pay. But it will inspire most of you to help people rather than what's the quickest way to get into somebody's wallet. That's not going to excite most of you. If it could, it already would have. You wouldn't be listening to this right now because you'd just be extracting money from wallets left and right. So stay sourced in why you're doing this and help people feel better about themselves and help people have hope about their future. And then create the connection like we were talking about, right? So another thing that's working is conversations, like direct communication, building relationships, responding to people, answering questions, just understanding who they are, being curious. That's not only still working, it's more important than it ever was before because of what I've been saying. People don't feel important, right? And in the world of identifying who your target market is or who your niche customer is or ideal client or whatever, we call that person your seeker. It's more important now to understand their psychographics than just their demographics. Their demographics is, 37-year-old woman living in Europe and wanting to create, an Etsy store. Okay, that's demographics. Psychographics is what's going on in her head. What is she afraid of? What does she really want? What is she dying to experience more of? Who does she trust? Who does she not trust? That's the psychology inside your seeker. And that's way more important than just the demographics that are able to describe them. We want you to be able to understand them. And they want you to be able to understand them. Because then they'll trust you more. Then they'll know you get them and all that stuff. All of this is leading toward, or it all sort of collides in this, perpetual decision of quality over quantity. And I'm sure all of you have heard of that in some, various contexts. Quality over quantity, giving people quality service, giving people quality experiences, giving people quality attention, not just reducing people into numbers and then just go the influencer algorithmic route, right? And quality is important for you as a leader, for you as a coach, because then you'll feel better about the connections that you make, and you'll feel better about the impact that you're making, right? You'll feel that a lot more when you have that connection and you have that quality. So two more things. What's also working, but this is like, well, here's what's working. More. That's what's working. What's working is to do more of what's not. I don't want to say more of what's not working. That's not. I started to say that's not what I meant. To do more until you get the results that you want, or you just continue to get better results. So what I mean by that is, more reach outs, more emails, more videos, more posts. Of course, there's a line where you don't want to just inundate people all the time, but most of you are nowhere near that line. In fact, that line looks like a dot because you're so far away from that line that it's like, and you can barely see the dot. And I'm saying that with love. I'm saying that with advocacy, because that's true for most people. Like, we're so afraid of crossing the line that we don't even get anywhere near the line of too much. So what we've found is that people need more connections. They need more phone calls. They need more emails. They need more questions answered. They just need more than they've ever needed before. And so one of the things that Michelle said a few years ago that I think is really, really important to understand is the best way for you to operate is to assume they don't know rather than assume they're not interested. What a lot of people are doing is sending out one email and then not getting a whole lot of response, and then go, see, I sent out the email and I got, 500 people on my email list. So all 500 of these people aren't interested. It's way more likely that only 4 people saw the email than all 500 of them saw it and they don't like you or they're not interested. But if you operate like they're not joining a program that they said they're interested in, well, they must not know about this. Then that will inspire you to send another email, to make another post, to assume that they don't know. And remember, people are being assaulted by all the marketing messages, right? And especially when we're on social media or we're opening our inbox, we are mostly operating to delete. We're not operating to, we're not going, okay, which email can I spend 5 minutes consuming? We're like, how quickly can I mass delete all the emails in my inbox? How quickly can I scroll through all these things? How quickly can I get through all the notifications? People are doing that all the time. And so it's more likely they haven't heard about your thing than they did and they're not interested. And if you operate that way, then you'll send more. You'll make more attempts. And that's just what we're seeing people need nowadays. Anyway, the final thing is similar to what I said earlier about the what's not working. Is what is working is anything that works on you, anything that engages you, the emails that you open, the videos that you watch, the programs that you buy, the coaches that you hire. Pay attention to what works with you, because what works with you will probably work with people that are like you. The best marketing strategies are the ones that you will do. Those are the best marketing strategies. And way too many people are trying to figure out the best marketing strategy out there that's going to apply across the board. And it doesn't matter if somebody else made $1 million with it. If you won't do it, it's useless for you because you won't do it. So pay attention to, what works with you. All right. I have 4 more things that I want to talk to you about, and they're much shorter than these first 2. These first 2 were much, much bigger. The next 4 are much shorter. Actually, this third one we already did. I should have put this up before I was talking about client school. There's 2 things for this. The next best step, if you want to join client school and really be with us for 6 months, we're going to dive into all of this. We're going to pace you through it. We're going to get you support that you need, and we're going to help you build something long-term. So that's going to be the next best steps, because we're focused on you. We're not going to tell everybody to do the same thing in client school. We're going to help people identify what the best steps are for each one of them individually. So we've figured out ways over the course of the years that we've been doing this to have a bunch of people in a group and still have individual experiences within a group dynamic, because you have to do what's aligned with you, right? So that's client school. And then we also gave you an assessment if you want to take that tool, or take the assessment, the business growth tool. earlier on, you can go to Coach on, what is it? bit.ly/4 stages of growth. That's another way to get what your next best stages are. So how about that? I thought I have 4 things, and I only have 3 things. So the 4th one is the number 1 entrepreneurial question that you can ask yourself every single day. And we've already talked about a lot of this, but just to really condense this down to a specific question, you can put on your mirror, you can put on your phone, you can put on an index card or something to remind you all the time. Maybe get an accountability partner that asks you this on a daily basis. Who is looking for me today? My experience is that for most of you, that will get you going more than, what are my goals? How much money can I make? What can I get? Most of you will be driven more by who can I serve than what can I get. That's just what we've learned, and it works more for me because this now personalizes your mission. It's a who question. It's not a what question. Who is looking for me today? Who is on the internet right now asking questions that I can answer? Who is searching for the information that I have in my head? And then, am I willing to do everything that I can to get in front of them? That's the idea of identifying the person out there that is currently already and aggressively searching for the information you already have. Now you just have to get in front of them rather than to identify who they are and like hunt them down, right? They're already looking. Every single person on this planet wants a better life in some area. Every single person wants a better life. So life coaching will always, always be a desire if you understand that the only reason somebody would want life coaching or business coaching is because they want a better life. So the human desire for a better life will never go away. Everybody wants a better life. That doesn't mean everybody's going to buy something, but everybody wants a better life. So everybody is seeking for some improvement. And there are a lot of people seeking for the improvement that you can help them with. The question is, are you going to do what you can to get in front of them? And you're going to have to, remember I said consistency is key. You're going to have to teach to empty classrooms for a while. What that means is when you put videos out there that are really truthful, a lot of times you're not going to get people commenting on the video and sharing the video and letting you know right away that you just changed their life. When we do our live trainings or when we just have a condensed group of people, a lot of times we'll ask, the question I usually pose is, how long did you know about me before I knew about you? Meaning, how many hours of content did you consume of mine before I knew you existed? Before you joined an email list, before you got into a program or whatever? And if any of you want to answer that question, I'd love for you to answer the question. If you know. And it's interesting, some people know immediately. And the answers range anywhere from, I just watched that one video, and so, 3 hours. Or I watched 50 videos. Or some people will go, it was the video that was how I made $302,000 in 18 months. It was that video, and I watched it 3 times. And that used to, that I think we have 2 up with that content now. But the first one that we had up for years and years and years, it was, I think, a 4-hour video, maybe a 4-hour video. And so people actually knew a lot. And then my question was always, okay, if it took 50 hours of my content for you to let me know that you exist, how many hours of content do you have? Because a lot of your people are going to be like you. And if you required 50 hours, do you have 50 hours? And almost 100% of the time, the answer is no. Whatever they required, they don't have. And again, I'm not saying this for shame. I just want to give you something to shoot for, something like a target to go for. Understanding that a lot of the people that are interested in your information are not going to watch a single video and immediately, figure out what the highest price item is on your website they can purchase. It's not how it works. So if you want to lead, then lead. If you want to be a teacher, then teach. If you want to be a coach, then coach, right? The best analogy for this, for me personally, was, a lighthouse shines its light because it's a lighthouse, not because it sees the boats. That's why I say you got to teach to an empty classroom sometimes. They're not going to show up right away and let you know, hey, if you put out your album, I'll pre-purchase it. That's not how it works. They have to see the light multiple times in order to know where to go. That's how this works. And so you've got to inspire yourself with something that will keep you going. And this question, who is looking for me today, will inspire more of you than how much money can I make? Then how much status can I get? Then, anything that's got any sort of resistance to you. Most of you don't have anywhere near the amount of resistance to helping people as you do to selling to people or marketing to people or speaking in public or doing videos or dealing with technology. All of that resistance is what stops most people. But most of you don't have anywhere near that resistance when the question is, if somebody had a question, would you answer it? You'd be like, yeah, of course I'd answer it. I'm not a monster. Okay, great. Well, then get in front of them because they're asking the questions. So that's going to be more of an internal drive for most of you. Number 5, the penultimate topic here is the most important strategic shift that I've seen is required over the last few years in today's world. I think we live in an attention economy. I said earlier, people pay attention to things, and then that attention is sold to advertisers. That's basically what the attention economy is. So people have millions and millions of followers, sell ads. They don't get their money from the followers a lot of times. They get their money from the ad revenue, but they have to build a big following. In other words, they have to get a lot of attention to sell the attention to other people. And sometimes, of course, they do sell their stuff to the audience too. But we live in an attention economy. Companies are paying for and buying and selling our attention. So how do you sell transformation in an attention economy? And the shift is what you see on the screen. Go from selling expectations to experiences. Most sales is expectation based. When you buy my thing, you'll get the thing. When you do this, you'll get that. If this, then that, right? So most sales techniques are selling expectations. The people don't get the thing that they want until after they buy whatever it is, especially if it's like a product, right? Because they have to buy the product in order to use the product to then have the outcome. Where coaching is unique in that regard, where you can actually give people an experience before they've purchased, at least with money, before they've purchased the product. You can still give them an experience. You can give them an experience in a video. You can give them an experience on a podcast. You can give them an experience with the conversation that you have. And then your sales pitch is, do you want more of the experience? For most of you, that's going to be way more effective than to get good at selling expectations when you don't like that. Right? I said earlier, the best strategy is the one you'll do. The best sales technique is the one you'll do. And most of you won't do most of the sales techniques because you don't resonate with that. I'm not saying the sales techniques are wrong. It's just most of you aren't doing those things because they're not aligned with you. You don't get excited about sales. But most of you will get more excited about teaching and coaching and providing like real value for people. So and in today's world, if you give people experiences, then it pierces their lack of trust. Because one of the main reasons that people don't trust is because they're afraid of expectations, yet again, not coming to fruition. Because, yeah, I bought one of those things before and it didn't turn out well. Great. So they're afraid of buying another expectation and being let down. But if you give them an experience, if you give them something to actually do that changes their energy when they go to bed or when they get up, or a different way to communicate, it changes the connection they feel, they actually have an embodied experience that can pierce their intellectual fears of, not trusting again, right? So it's going to be better for them, and it's going to be better for most of you. And then you don't have to worry about the intellectual wrestling and turning all the no's into yeses and all the objections and all that stuff. Of course, some of that will still be there, but you'll feel better. And when you feel better, you'll be more passionate about what you do. When you're more passionate, you'll be doing it more. There'll be a different energy exchange. There'll be more attraction to what you're doing. You'll put out more stuff because you're enjoying it more, and it's just more aligned with you, and your results are going to get better. So most of you will actually increase your sales when you stop trying to sell. Most of you are going to increase your sales when you give people experiences, when you become a teacher, and then learn to offer more of that. Now, I'm not trying to duck around sales. You're still going to offer something for money. I'm not trying to pretend like I'm not in sales because I just want to help people and I don't want to, take any money from people. Yeah, I'm such a good person. That's what a lot of people are doing. We're not trying to avoid the idea that this is sales, but it's sales on top of experiences first. And for most of you, that's going to be more aligned, and your sales are going to increase as a result. Now, it takes time to do this. Again, I'm not sugarcoating any of this and trying to give you the microwave version. It takes time, but it's possible, especially if you're curious about your seeker and you put in the work and you actually do care and all the things we've been talking about. All right, the final thing here is, how can you win as an imperfect human being? A lot of people think, I really want to do this work, but every time I think about it, I doubt myself. Okay. No, but every time I think about it, you don't understand, Sean. Like every time I think about it, I wonder, like, will anybody care? What if they don't? I wonder if I'll be able to do this. And I go, yeah, me too. They go, no, like honestly, like I really have this this doubt. And I'm like, yeah, me too. Why? Because I give a damn. If you give a damn about helping people, you'll doubt yourself because you actually want it to be good. You want to serve people. So anytime that you care about something, you will probably doubt something about it. You'll doubt whether you can fulfill. You'll doubt whether they'll get what it is that you want them to get, or that they told you that they want out of whatever it is that you're offering, right? You'll probably doubt. You'll probably have fears. Why? Because you're human and you care. And that's like the recipe for doubts and fears. So I don't want you to try to get rid of that stuff and become robotic. I just want you to tap into something that's more powerful than that stuff. So I want you to take action with your fears. I want you to take action with your insecurities, because you're actually a better coach when you coach with insecurity awareness. Because most people are insecure about something. That's why they're looking for coaches. Most people are anxious about something. Most people are doubtful about something. Most people are fearful about something. So you understanding that whole process, which is just a natural human journey, makes you a better guide for people that have all of those things. If you show up trying to be perfect and try to pretend that you don't ever doubt yourself, you're much more likely to create suspicion than you are to create following. And I would imagine the same is true for most of you. If somebody shows up and they tell you that everything in their life is perfect, they got the best relationship, nothing can get better, they love everything about their life, you're like, nah, this person's not real. And if they're not real, how can they help you with your real stuff, right? So don't aim for perfection. Just be real. I think the world needs now more than ever real people helping real people with real people problems. That's what I think the world needs more of. How can you just help and do it authentically and do it with your best effort? Somebody out there will pay you, assuming that you've got the training to actually, be a good coach, right? We're not disregarding that. assuming you are a good coach and can provide value, somebody will pay you. And if somebody will pay you, somebody else will pay you. So what I want all of you to take away, one of the things I want all of you to take away is that there is a recipe for you to succeed beyond your current fathoming, beyond your current ability to understand it. There is a recipe out there waiting for you to find it, waiting for you to discover it, waiting for you to uncover it, that will give you impact and freedom and income beyond your current capacity to understand. It's your job to find that recipe that exists. But if it is already there when you showed up, it's not yours. That's not the one. Any pre-paved path is not your path. Which is why the most important thing in this process is for you to get support, is for you to be able to put yourself in situations where people can see into your blind spots because they're not emotionally attached to your stories. They'll ask questions that you wouldn't ask yourself or wouldn't answer if you did ask yourself. They'll give you ideas that you never thought of. Or you'll just know that you're not the only one that gets up and doubts yourself whether you can do this work or not. And there's guardrails that need to be in place for most of us. Like we need some kind of path to follow. Because if we knew how to get there, we already would have, right? For the most part. So you absolutely can do this because you are the most important ingredient, because you have lessons that somebody is searching for and somebody will pay for. What remains to be seen is if you're going to operate with enough curiosity and enough resilience and enough tenacity and enough belief and enough inspiration, if you're going to operate with all the things that you need to tap into in order to uncover the recipe that's waiting for you. The recipe that needs you to get in motion, that needs you to turn around corners when you don't know what's around there, that needs you to take ignorant action, that needs you to prove to yourself that you're bigger than the rejection, that needs you to get in motion and needs you to fully commit to your growth and to the mastery journey. There's a recipe out there waiting for you, but it's not going to come pick you up at the bus stop. It will only find you and direct you in motion. That's how it always will work. And way too many people are like, man, let me tell you, if the universe sent a bus to me right now, I would absolutely get on that thing. As long as the doors were open. And as long as I didn't actually have to get up off the bench. But if the bus driver would show up and come pick me off of the bench, let me tell you how committed I am. I would absolutely let them put me on the bus and then create everything that I want to create on this planet. That's how committed I am. So where's the bus? Nobody's telling that story. But every single one of you can make this work. I won't tell you how exactly, because I don't know. I don't know when it's going to work for you. I don't know how many videos you're going to have to do. I don't know how many podcasts or how many articles. I don't know how many times you're going to have to get back up. You're going to have to produce. You're going to have to publish. You're going to have to promote. You're going to have to deal with feedback. I don't know any of that. And anybody that tells you they do know what your future looks like is just trying to get into your wallet. But I do know it's doable. I do know it's figure outable. I do know it's discoverable. If you're willing to operate and if you're willing to be in a community that is designed, in a program that is designed to create the certainty, to create the resiliency, right? If you're not in the right classroom, you cannot get what the other classroom is teaching because you're not in that classroom. So if you need to learn Spanish and you go into science class, you're not coming out of science class, no matter how good of a student you are, speaking Spanish, because you're not in the right classroom. But you also have to be in the classroom right. You have to have the right mentality. You have to have the sales set correctly. That's why I spend so much time on the inner game of all of this. Because if you're not in the classroom right, if you don't have the long-term commitment, if you don't have the support, if you don't know what you're actually shooting at, if you don't know what the goal is, that it's more internal certainty than external confidence, then you could be in the right classroom with the right teacher and the right textbook and not pass the class because you're not in it right. So all of that I just said, all the things that we've been talking about, all of that is in Client School. That's why we put it together. So for those of you that didn't see it the first time that I talked about it, or you did see it and you're thinking about it, I just want to go through it just another time here. Client School is a 6-month program where we're designing all of this curriculum, all of this support for you, so that you can do all this work, so that you can figure out your own recipe, so that you can design aligned strategies that have a chance to work for you, for your seeker, with your unique characteristics, with your desires, with your time frames. There is a recipe, and we put Client School together to help you find your recipe so that you can attract the clients, so that you can build a business, so that you can have the embodied certainty in order to be client ready. That's something that I didn't really talk about. I didn't talk about at all today. Most people are trying to get clients, but they're not ready for clients. They're not ready for clients internally or externally. Personally, they're not ready for clients, and business-wise, they're not ready for clients. So part of Client School is getting you client ready so that all the people that are looking for you can find you, and when they do find you, they can become a client of yours. If you're not client ready, internally or externally, then it doesn't matter how many people show up to your door because you're not client ready, right? So that's one of the main things that we teach inside of Client School. It's all about in building the certainty that you need and unlocking the creativity, the entrepreneurial creativity, the entrepreneurial awareness and identity, so that you can be more authentically influential and persuasive, so that you can generate more of the income and make more of the impact, so you can heal whatever needs to be healed, so you can overcome whatever needs to be overcome. You can change your relationship to the things you need to change your relationship to, so that you can build the most important ingredient, which is you, to a resilient place that you can overcome any of the obstacles and keep going. So you can actually be literally unstoppable. Because a lot of people think they're unstoppable when they're all emotionally inebriated, like I'm unstoppable. And then 5 minutes later, they have stopped. So the way I define unstoppable is, do you stop or not? It's pretty simple. If you stop, then you are stoppable. And unstoppable is not this intellectual excitement. It's just, do they stop or do they not stop? And the way to get to the point where you are unstoppable is by doing this inner work and understanding the foundation and all the stuff that we're going to pace you through in Client School. I talked about these 14 things, the tangible stuff that we're teaching inside of Client School. We're going to teach you how to build this online classroom of nonstop content, entrepreneurial content, conversion content, so that you can become a binge-worthy channel, so that when people are ready for you, you're ready for them. And you've got a customer journey coming in, you've got opt-in pages, you've got free downloads for people to trade their email address with you. You've got the right CRM. You know how to nurture your email crowd. You know how to convert. You understand the 13 types of conversion content. I know I'm not going in order here. I'm just going off the top of my head. You have a sales mechanism so that people can actually hire you. You understand who your seeker is. And all of this can come together to build a very, very solid business foundation, but it has to be built with pillars. It has to be built with laws, not rules. It has to be built with foundations and not facts. So that's what Client School is. Doors close February 28th, which means we got about 29 more hours before it closes as of the recording right now. Kevin Goings, as I shared, he said he listened to half of Module 9, implemented it, messed up, and booked a $15,000 client that day. Because the stuff kind of works, right? Because when you understand what people want and you offer it to them and you can actually deliver it and they feel the certainty, they'll pay. and then they'll pay staggering prices. They'll pay prices beyond what you think they will pay if all of this stuff is aligned and it all comes together. For Leslie, she had been I don't remember how long that she'd been in the coaching world and wanting to do programs, stuff like that. And then towards the back end of the program, when we ran it the first time, she did a pre-launch of a program, made $10,000 with her community. So I'm not promising anything to any of you, but I'm also not saying that these are the limits. Like, you can make a lot more than that. Just depends. So this is a rest of your life program. The price is $15.97 if you pay up front, or it's 10 monthly payments of $199, which is actually extended beyond the structure of the program. We just wanted to do it just to get it under $200 and make it easier for many of you that need monthly payments. And again, my intention is to teach you the things that are going to live with you, teach you the things that are going to foundationally build your future in business, teach you how to think about what to do, not just teach you rules that are never going to change. And that's the only way that you can actually have agency. That's the only way that you can actually have entrepreneurial freedom, is to build the muscles that need to be built. So you can go to coachshansmith.com/cschool2025, which is client school. You can scan that QR code. We've got 4 bonuses. There's a speaker training, transformational storytelling speaker training. That's an online program that you get. There's a weight loss for normal people online program that you get. There is a inner game of money online program that you get. You get all of these immediately, actually, when you register. They're linked inside the welcome email. And then you also get, when they're ready, the audio program, the audio book recordings of Daddy, Are You Proud of Me?, which is my book. That's me there on the front cover with my daughter many, many, many years ago. That little kid right there with the yellow tie and her little hair is now 23 years old and about to get married. So that takes me back a ways. Anyway, this is a book. It's my heart. It's what I've learned after all these years, and it's really designed to help fathers understand what daughters need, and it's also designed for daughters to heal for themselves in their own life, heal self-esteem issues, confidence issues, and it's just turned out to be a really sacred book. So you'll get the audio recordings when that is done. If you don't know if this is for you or not, you can book a consultation and we'll get on the phone. If you book a consultation before we close the doors and then you decide to join, we'll let you in. We don't want to punish any of you just because you might see the recording or there's not a time for you to talk until later. All right, so I hope this has been valuable. I really enjoy doing the state of the coaching industry because it lets me really speak about a lot of the deeper stuff. And this is just part 1. We're doing part 2 at some point in the future. I don't know when. It'll be soon. And part 2, we're going to talk about skill set. We're going to talk about just the skills of coaching. This has really all been strategy and your ability to build a business, to expand, to sell, to market, all that kind of stuff. And if any of this is resonating with you, we'd love to see you in client school, and we'd love to give you everything that we can to support you in creating what you want to create, make the impact you want to create in this world. And creating is a really important word, right? Creating is different than reacting. And creating gives you agency. Creating gives you independence. And creating gives you a future that you can control. Reacting doesn't give you any of those things. And most people are reacting. Most people are following directions. Most people need other people to tell them what to do. And we're going to help you learn how to think about what to do. And when you cross that line, then you really can become unstoppable. So for those of you that are resonating with it, we hope you join, and we can't wait to see you inside the program. If you have any questions at all, let us know. We got a bunch of other videos on our YouTube channel and on the Facebook page and all that, wherever you are. If you want to binge some more, binge for sure. But if you really want to get down and plant the seeds and build the foundation, then please join us in client school. One thing that I didn't say is we're not doing it again. This is going to be the final time that we're doing client school live. I don't know in the future, maybe we'll sell the archives. That decision hasn't fully been made, but if you want our live attention in these modules, then this will be the last time that we do. So with that, everyone, have a wonderful rest of your evening. I appreciate all of you that have been here, contributing, commenting, asking questions, answering questions. And I really hope there's been something of value that you can take away and implement and, change somebody's life, yours and others. Come from that place, and we can collectively make the world a little bit better. As cheesy as that sounds, I think it is what we're being called forward to do. Again, real people helping real people with real people stuff. Appreciate you all, and we'll see you soon on another channel, in another video, in another email. Take care, everyone. Bye-bye.